When you first start planning with Agile, you're often just planning for individual teams for specific iterations. But the next step is to put that iteration-based planning in the context of a release or program increment. The team planning page, which we cover in another video, lets you take that first step by planning all the iterations in a release for a given team. In this video, we'll walk you through the release planning page, which can be a slightly larger next step. This tool helps you see how work is slotted into multiple releases and is a great first step toward that type of thinking. The release planning page is fairly simple to use and can be a good fit for planning smaller releases for a small number of teams, but it does lack the power of a full-blown capacity plan. If you're planning for a larger release with multiple teams and you need to clearly identify cross-team dependencies and allocations, the capacity planning page might be a better choice. And we cover that in another video series. But for now, let's talk about release planning. This page is a road mapping tool that you can use for one or more upcoming releases. It's going to help product and program managers visualize possibilities for scheduling features into release time boxes. And that is an important distinction between the release planning page and the team planning page. Here, your planning is going to take place at the feature level rather than at the story level. On the left, you can see the list of features that are assigned to the team or teams, but not yet assigned to the release. Then you have a column for each defined release for the project. Similar to the team planning page, you have to use the time boxes page to define time range and other details for each release that you want to plan. And you have to be a project administrator or higher with the Timebox admin permission enabled to create those time boxes. Here we have releases defined for Q2, Q3, and Q4. But you can also use these arrows to horizontally scroll to any other releases that are defined. And you can see that we already have some features planned for Q2 and Q3. Now, one of the nice features of this page is that you can do release planning for an individual team. Here we're looking at the mobile team, but you can also plan at a higher level for a team of teams. So if we select the Digital Banking Core release train, you can see that it's made up of the core team, mobile team, and security team. So now we're looking at the feature backlog for all three teams and see their planned features all rolled up together for the same three releases. One of the most important features in this page is the planned velocity bar at the top of each release. Planned velocity constrains the amount of work that is scheduled in a release time box based on the capacity of each team. Before you begin the planning process, each team should determine their planned velocity, taking into consideration holidays, time off, events, all-day meetings, and any other large time consumers that aren't directly related to their work delivery. As we discussed in the team planning video, if the team has been working in Rally for some time, you can also look at the team's historical velocity and throughput to get a much better sense of how much work they've been able to accomplish in similar time periods in the past. Now, if we look at the planned velocity for Q2, you can see that we planned 750 story points against a capacity or a planned velocity of 950, so 78%. But what's this parenthetical number of 850? So if there are existing release plans for each of the teams in our plan, the roll-up of the planned velocity shows up here in parentheses. If we look at the core team, they had a planned velocity of 250. The mobile team was also 250, and the security team was 350. And I should say it's not unusual for teams to have different velocities. Each team is going to plan a little bit differently than others and might have a different team makeup. So those defined velocities in the child plans roll up to 850. And then there's another 100 points of planned velocity added at the release train level. Now, if in your organization the release train level is just a container for the other projects and you don't need velocity at that level, you can just leave the velocity for the parent project undefined by setting it to 0. So at this point, we have our features defined, we've assigned preliminary estimates, and we're ready to start planning our Q4 release. To do that, we just drag and drop features from the backlog into the release column. And notice that as we do, the velocity bar is updated accordingly. If you prefer, you can also move a feature by selecting the feature ID and updating the release field. If you have a long list of features in the backlog, you can use the search field to search for a specific feature. You can also select filters to refine the portfolio items that display on the page. It is worth noting that you can't schedule one feature into 2 releases. If a feature is too big to fit into a single release, consider breaking it down into smaller features. You also can't assign one feature to more than one team. If a feature will be worked on by multiple teams, choose one team to hold the feature and assign that team's project to the feature. Then adjust the velocity for that team to include the portion of the planned velocity needed from the other teams that will contribute to the feature. So this initial plan provides you with a starting point to understand what features will fit into this release, based on each team's capacity or planned velocity. Now the teams can drill into more details, begin building out the necessary user stories, and refining the estimates to provide a more definitive plan. As you're planning, remember that it's common for scope to grow as teams begin to work on a feature. So it's a good idea not to schedule features to a release capacity of 100% or more. So that's pretty much the planning process. But before we wrap up, let's look at a few additional features that might help as you continue your refinement. You can hover over any feature ID for a quick summary of the feature. Select the feature ID to open the detail editor to see more information about the feature, including any user stories that have been created, discussions posted, defined dependencies, and so on. You can edit the name of the feature here or inline in the card itself, and change the owner. And if you would like each card to include additional fields, select Show on Cards and select the fields that you want to display. Hovering over a card also opens a menu that provides a variety of actions and customization options. So that's release planning in a nutshell, and now you understand how to create a release plan for a single team or a team of teams, for one release or for several. To learn more about Rally and Agile practices, check out our blog and community. Like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you'll never miss new content as it's added.